Niger now and ECOWAS army chiefs will meet in Accra on Thursday, August 17, to discuss a possible intervention in Niger, where a military junta held a coup last month. Ministers of Defense, Interior and National Security have been meeting with Parliament's Defense and Interior Committee. Now let's go straight to Parliament, where Komla Kluche is standing by with more details on this. Well, we'll bring you more details in our subsequent bulletins for this particular story. Let's still stay in Niger now. An international security consultant, Colonel retired Festus Abuaje, is questioning the basis of a military intervention in Niger. He said Ghana could compromise its national sovereignty should it contribute troops to the ECOWAS standby force.
On to Article 40 of the Ghana Constitution, which covers international relations. Not surprisingly, the first provision under this article is that in our dealings with other nations, our government, the government that we elect, shall promote and protect the interest of Ghana. So what is the interest of Ghana in the intervention in Niger? During the decision, it should be clear that when the government comes out to say that Ghana is going to be part of the ECOWAS intervention, that the government articulates how that is going to serve the national interest. Before you end that provision, it also says that we shall first pursue pacific settlement of disputes, that settlement of international disputes by peaceful means. So the question is, what peaceful means have Ghana been part of? So far, Ghana has not told us what the risks are. You see what I mean? It's just saying that we belong to a multilateral organization called ECOWAS, signed the ECOWAS Treaty and so on and so forth. Does that mean that when ECOWAS is going into a ditch, we go along with ECOWAS into the ditch? Then the government has not told us where it's going to find the means to support this endeavor. Some have suggested it's going to come from France. Look, we're going to compromise our sovereignty, but there's no free lunch anywhere in the world. And I want Ghanaians to go and read Dr. Obed Asamoah's book, that big book, and read how he articulates how both Nigeria and Libya were twisting the arms of Ghana to do the bidding of Nigeria and do the bidding of Gaddafi, just because we're in dire straits and they gave us oil and they paid for our troops in Lekomo. So if Ghana cannot pay for this intervention, Ghana must not be part of it. And I want to suggest that given the economic circumstances that we are in, it can never, or it will be very difficult in the national interest to spend money on this intervention.
Now, former Nigerian President General Olusegun Obasanjo has blamed poor leadership and governance for the continent's woes. He believes change can occur if the youth take a key role in governance and positively change the narrative. He was speaking at the 15th African Youth and Governance Summit at Bankasim in the Central Region.
In the last 5 years, Africa has recorded 8 of its democratically elected heads of state toppled in coups by military juntas. 5 of the coups happened in West Africa. The recent coup in Niger, which ousted Mohamed Bazoum, has prompted members of the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, to take action. ECOWAS has tabled among options to deploy the military to intervene in the case of Niger and reinstate Mohamed Bazoum as head of state of that country. Addressing the 15th African Youth and Governance Summit, former President of Nigeria, General Olusegun Obasanjo, blamed the military overthrows on abysmal administrative performance.
The situation we are in is simply, let us put it as it is simply leadership and governance. We are in bad shape. We are in bad situation because leadership and governance in our different countries, in our sub-region, and indeed have not been what it should be. And what we have in West Africa today is not just unconstitutional change of government that will transition to civilian or civil government quickly. I visited one of the countries not too long ago, and after 2 nights, I came out with the feeling that young boys who are in charge of government, military, are not thinking of transition, they are thinking of one generation. They believe they require a generation to bring about the necessary change to the vestiges of colonialism and bad governance.
He urged the youth to stand up and change the status quo when need be.
I would like to throw a challenge to all young people gathered here to be bold and challenge status quo and conventions. One of the problems young people are facing in Africa is lack of opportunity.
The summit was attended by more than 65 delegates from 26 African countries.
Now, away from that, the National Labour Commission, NLC, and the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, are set to meet today over service of condition. CTAG has been on strike since August 1, with no intention to back down on their demands and to call off the strike. An earlier scheduled meeting with the NLC was cancelled last week at the request of CTAG. National President of CTAG, Prince Himan, said the NLC had always demonstrated bias towards the members. Hence, they will insist on evidence and signs of goodwill before giving any contrary directive to their members. Now, moving on, concerns have been raised over the cumbersome process in acquiring a passport despite its movement from manual to electronic. I visited one of Accra's most popular passport offices, and here's a report.
It's now so common. The struggle to acquire a passport for some has become an extreme sport. Long queues to access offices, long queues to capture your biometrics, and if you're not lucky, even longer waiting periods to get a printed copy of your passport.
Yeah, I applied for a passport somewhere last year around December, and up till now I've not gotten it, and that was even premium. So I personally do not understand what's happening in the country, because I've been to the passport office a couple of times and then they will tell you that it's not yet ready, go and come.
3 years ago, it seemed all was about to change when the passport acquisition process was meant to go fully digital, as the system got rid of middlemen who dragged it out and profited from it. But it did not last. Complaints about a lack of printed material caused long details in issuance of passports. It is frustrating those desperately in need of passports.
At times I wonder if you are still living in a country like Ghana. I applied for my passport, that was in January. The last time I went there, I was directed to go and see somebody, only for that person to tell me that if I want my passport within a week or a month, I should pay 600 cedis. And I was like, how?
The increasing concerns have now reached the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
And when I say illegal activities, we all know, just 2 days ago, the report in the Daily Guide that the issue of Goro people involved in our passport acquisition process has become rife.
She also sacked some public officers on secondment at the passport office. Patrons today complained nothing much has changed, especially for those who go through the normal process.
I was told by a friend that filling it online and then getting through the normal process is quite difficult. So you pay something small, you go fast. So actually I needed a passport for something urgently. So I recommended for the premium. So the lady took me 1,500 and then promised to do the premium for me, but ended up doing the standard, of which I think is a cheat.
For now, many can only cling on the hope that the acquisition process might work for all as it should. Judith Awachitando, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, away from this, more victims are expected to testify in the WA serial defilement case today after 9 others had their turn before the judge on Tuesday. Hearing on the first day, which was not open to the public, stretched for over 2 hours, with the accused unable to directly address the victims.
Ahmed Rashid, aka Anata, is charged with 18 counts of defilement, attempted defilement and indecent assault. On Tuesday, August 15, he was to meet several of the victims for the first time because a hearing started behind closed doors. 9 of the survivors appeared to testify against him during the more than 2 hours of closed-door court hearings. The accused became sober upon seeing the victims and dropped his head, unwilling to face them directly. As the case progressed, the judge had to repeatedly tell him to maintain his posture. More victims are scheduled to testify on Wednesday, August 16, which increases the likelihood that the hearing will be over in a record month, according to the prosecution led by the Chief State Attorney Said Shakor.
It's also important, and the law actually mandates us to protect their identity, to try and rehabilitate them in a sort. So we are taking every step that is necessary to secure the witnesses. But the witnesses were quite graphic, and you wouldn't believe they were children. They told the story in a very, very consistent, very coherent manner. We want to make sure that all the children that are involved, we are able to take all their testimony before we bring in the technical people like the investigator, the medical doctor, to come and testify.
Contrary to the chaotic scene on Monday, the court premises was almost completely empty because of the extensive use of security personnel to uphold law and order.
Let's do some transport stories now. And in a bid to reduce traffic and create a conducive business environment, the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council has served notice to restrict the movement of motorized tricycles. 13 out of 47 metropolitan, municipal and districts within the region are expected to formulate bylaws for implementation. Grace Hamwajiman has been following up on the latest directive.
The Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council, in a statement, has restricted the operations of these tricycles within the Central Business District and some principal streets in Accra, which it says causes heavy traffic congestion, chaotic scenes with indiscriminate parking and flouting of traffic regulations. The restriction is therefore to create a conducive environment for businesses to thrive and for the comfort of travelers. Here at Gagbogloshi Market at Old Fadama, these operators were busily going about their business without any knowledge of the new directive.
This is where most of us get our income from to cater for ourselves. So without using this pragya, I think that one will affect us a lot. We are students here. All of us here, we are students. Due to the poverty in our families, we found ourselves here doing businesses.
It's a big problem because me myself, without money, I can't further up. This is where I get money to pay my school fees.
Yeah, cause traffic, because parking one way.
We make sure we obey all the traffic regulations, so it's not true that we congest the markets.
These tricycles have also become relief for many who engage their services. Their charges are cheaper, and that's why we patronize them. Government should allow them to operate. The 13 metropolitan municipalities and districts comprising Accra Metropolitan, Krowo, Korle Klottey, Tema Metropolitan, La Dadekotopong, Lankwantanan Madina, Ayawaso East, Ayawaso West, Ayawaso Central, Ayawaso North, Lejekuku, Okaikwe North, and Adenta Municipal are expected to formulate bylaws for the smooth implementation of this directive.
We know how it ended in the Ashanti region, and we wait to see how it will also end in the Greater Accra region. Grace Hamwajiman, TV3 News, Old Fadama.
Interesting report there. Now moving on, the Trades Union Congress has cautioned government against proposing cost of living allowance COLA during the next salary negotiations. Now, according to the Deputy Secretary General Joshua Ansah,